Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle, educator, healer, speaker, guide, and fierce advocate for your yes. I help sensitive and successful men and women find, reclaim, and live from their full embodied yes. Through empowering you to understand your energetic hygiene, establish healthy boundaries, and heal your nervous system, you'll be able to create your yes-filled life and move through your days with more freedom, more ease, and more joy. You'll hear inspiring stories of people who found their full-bodied yes, thought leaders who pursued their own dreams and are living life on their terms, and learn new ways to find the courage, joy, ease, and freedom to more fully step into your yes-filled life. Say no to the good so you can say yes to the great. Join me on this journey to discover your yes-filled life. Whether you're looking to break free from the golden handcuffs, start a new business, find your dream job, or simply live with more intention and mindfulness, I've got you covered. Let's explore the possibilities together and make your dreams a reality. Ready? Let's do this. Let's get you to your yes-filled life. Hello, and welcome back to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Today on the podcast, I am so excited to bring you one of my mentors, Samantha Skelly. Samantha Skelly is the founder and CEO of the multi-million-dollar breathwork and wellness company, Pause Breathwork. She's a highly sought-after international speaker, best-selling author, and coaching expert with a heart-centered approach to life and business. A leading authority on trauma healing and stress response, Samantha has made it her life's mission to rid the world of anxiety so people can thrive using the power of their breath. Through Pause's signature trauma-informed somatic coaching program, breathwork facilitator training, and live events, she provides uniquely accessible somatic and emotional healing resources while also equipping clients with the tools and strategies to create and scale their own six-figure wellness businesses. She has trained and certified nearly 1,000 people in 27 countries in the power of breathwork, and thousands more are using the Pause Breathwork mobile app worldwide. With the mission of helping 1 billion people by 2030, Samantha started examining the underlying causes of anxiety, trauma, and stress in 2014 with her first Hay House best-selling book, eventually growing the movement into a comprehensive wellness brand that Pause is today, supporting over 10,000 clients in 30 plus countries worldwide. Her sustainable healing solutions have revolutionized the self help industry, challenging the old band aids on bullet wounds approach that kept people trapped in the yo yo effect. She's been featured on global TV, Shaw, NBC, CBC, The Doctor Show, and BBC, and in publications like Forbes, The Huffington Post, The Elephant Journal, and The Prevail Project. Samantha is just getting ready to launch a brand new podcast coming at the end of August in 2023, and you will have to check out that when she has made it public and it is launched. Sam is a native of Vancouver, British Columbia, and currently resides in San Diego, California. When she's not challenging the wellness and self help industry or positively transforming lives, you can usually find her surfing, dancing, and supporting anti trafficking efforts through her philanthropic initiatives. I am a graduate of Samantha's program, and that is how I earned my certificate in trauma informed breathwork facilitator training. If you've ever wanted to try breathwork, I have two ways that you can try breathwork for free, and I'll be sure to link both in the show notes. The first is a brand new offering from me. Are you ready to unlock the incredible power of your intuition and connect with your inner wisdom on a deeper level? You're invited to embark on this transformative journey with an exclusive PDF guide and video series designed to amplify your success and well being in a free 4-part video course called Breathwork to Strengthen and Trust Your Intuition. This valuable free resource is designed specifically for high achieving and successful individuals like you who are committed to personal and professional growth, aligning with your desires and embracing the wisdom within. You can watch at your own pace when you get instant access to the complete series. Created for high achievers on the go, each video is less than 15 minutes. You'll also have instant access to the PDF guide with various breathwork patterns so that you can take breathwork with you anywhere. To get your free access to the 4-part video series and the downloadable PDF guide, go to brendawinkle.com/breathe, and I'll put the link in the show notes. I'm also going to put a special link for you to be able to try the Pause Breathwork app for free for 30 days. I'll put that link in the show notes. This is the app that Samantha Skelly and her team have developed so that you can try breathwork anywhere. And without any further ado, introducing the fabulous Samantha Skelly. Sam, thank you. Thank you for being here.
I'm so grateful. I cannot wait for this conversation.
Me too. So you are one of my mentors, and I can say with just complete authenticity that you have changed my life in so many ways, and it's just mind-blowing to think about life before Sam and life after Sam.
30 seconds in, you've already made me cry. What's happening? Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I think one of the things that makes you such an incredible leader is that you lead by example, and you lead by sharing when it's great, sharing when it's not great, and then showing how to get through the other side. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. The question that I ask myself often is, well, there's many questions, but one of the ones is how can I take people on the ride with me? And how can I share when it's not comfortable? Because it's easy to share after I gathered the lessons and it's all sparkly again. But like there's been times where I'm in it. I'm fully in the contraction. I'm fully in, as we call at Pause, like the content of life. And I really believe it's those moments of sharing the visceral somatic experience of going through something like that. That's what helps us all feel relatable, and that's what helps us all feel human. It's like, as amazing as social media is for so many reasons, it also is showing one dimension of the whole picture, and that can feel really disheartening. And so I appreciate that acknowledgement. And yeah, I'm going to continually do that, even when it looks messy, even when I'm like, oh God, here we go.
I love that. So my eyes are already leaking. That's always like my, like the truth serum running down my face.
Truth serum. God, that's good.
Oh my goodness. So if our listeners don't know about you, you are the founder of Pause Breathwork.
That's
and yeah. And so I was just thinking, as I prepared for this interview with you, I was thinking about your story. And I was thinking about the courage that it must have taken to take the plunge into where you are now. And I would love if you'd be willing to share a little bit about that story with the listeners.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite mantras is courage is my compass. And, the story is not over. It's actually still evolving. And in some regard, I need more courage today than I did when I first started. And the reason being is now there's so much more on the line, with our massive company and clients and team and all, like there's so many things. And so I really believe that Pause will grow to the extent that I will grow. And my commitment to myself is to constantly be on the path of growth and evolution. And so therefore, by default, Pause will be too. It's not separate from, but I remember the first day that the mission of Pause Breathwork dropped in. I was driving from LA back to San Diego, and I was feeling like there was something that I was birthing next, right? It's like that feeling of like something's coming through and I don't know what it is. And I just remember feeling into my previous company before Pause Breathwork, which was called Hungry for Happiness, and just feeling like something was shifting and changing. And I just remember my excitement for that content and that material wasn't as ripe as it once was, because I was so far removed from someone who struggles with emotional eating and body image issues and things like that. And so I remember driving in my car and I just asked the universe, like I always do, what is it? What is this next thing? I can feel it. I can feel a rumbling. And whenever I know there's a rumbling, there's something beautiful to come. It's like the rubs or the rumbling or the contractions, like there's always something to lean into and to emerge. And so it was just clear as day. To this day, I haven't received anything that was this clear. It was like, you need to teach the world to breathe.
Mm.
Wait, what? It was as if someone was sitting in my passenger seat. And then the next thing that dropped in was, it's called Pause Breathwork. And then I began seeing fireworks driving down the 405 in California from LA to back to San Diego. And I'm like, it's not July 4th. It's not like any. And I called my boyfriend at the time and I was like, what's happening? Is there like some sort of celebration? He's like, I don't think so. I'm like, can you check the vacation or the holiday calendar? Like, are you sure there's no? He's like, no, there's literally nothing. I'm like, oh my gosh. I took that as like a sign from the universe. Like, yeah, you got it. This is it. This is what we've been trying to communicate. So I remember driving home that day, and that night I was woken up at 3 a.m., 3:14 a.m. to be exact, for weeks on end, not just once, but weeks on end. And
Mm-hmm.
the whole business model of Pause was just dropped into my awareness. And I remember my living room at the time just looked like a mad science lab. There's just like things everywhere and like diagrams everywhere. And, the whole vision of Pause Breathwork was just there. And the vision that originally dropped in, this was 2017, I think. That's the vision that we're executing on now, even down to the mastermind that you're involved in the program that you took, and everything. It's like, it was all there for me. It wasn't this cognitive, what do I think that I need to do? It very much came from this deeper, more embodied place. And so I think I answered your question.
That was amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And so when you talk about the deeper embodied place, I think that for the listener who's like, I don't know what that means, I would call that a deep intuitive knowing. Would you call it that as well?
Yeah, it's like when I look at the ways in which we receive information from other beings and fields, there's kind of like different flavors of it, right? So there is that deep intuitive knowing, which is like, it's like a knowing, right?
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
then there's the way that we hear, right? So that moment in the car, I heard it. It was, oh, that was through it's like as if I was talking to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's things that I see. It's like the one that sees, right? So when I close my eyes and I feel into the vibration of where the mission is going to next, I see things. I see stadiums of people breathing, and I see, tens of thousands of breathwork facilitators all over the world. I have this image that has been with me since the beginning of time, aka 2017, when I got the image of breathwork, which is a globe, like a world. And then all over the planet, there's these little tiny lights, and those lights are a representation of the breathwork facilitators that we certify, and they are lighting up the world. And so now we have a couple thousand, but I want to train as many people as possible through this work. And so that's kind of like what I see, right? And then there's like the feeling, right? So there's like intuition, as in like the knowing, which is more of
Mm-hmm.
like a mind knowing, like I just know this. And then there's like the felt sense, like the body feeling
Mm-hmm.
intuition. And so I guess intuition can be sort of the overarching, what we call it, but then there's like different flavors of how we perceive information.
Oh, that hits for me deeply because I
Mhm.
also hear or see or even feel like
Yeah.
tactily. I'll feel things, and sometimes it's in my body, sometimes it's near my body,
Mm.
or yeah. So that really resonates with me that there are different ways.
Yeah, and depending on what we're working with, and depending on the environment and the other beings that we're with and the subject material or whatever it is, it can come in all of these different ways. And so we all have all of them. All of us have an ability to see, All of us have an ability to know. All of us have an ability to feel. All of us
Mhm.
have an ability to attune. And so it's about removing all of the human parts that say that's not possible or that's crazy, and getting back to our natural innate ability to perceive information, not through the cognitive mental field, right? So the way our world is set up, the way that the school system is set up is there's an overemphasis, we're overemphasized in our mental field, like
Mhm.
knowledge and rationale and 3D and obvious, right? Which is like that obvious way of perceiving information, but that's only one way. There's so many other different ways that we perceive. So it's interesting to clear away all of those limited beliefs and all of those blocks that stop us from actually receiving intelligence and communication from other energies in the unseen world, because there's so much there.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And as an educator for 26 years, I can tell you that education was developed in the Industrial Revolution as a way to have people working in factories. So the basis of education was not really to expand our awarenesses or expand our intelligence. It was to make sure you can stay in line and do this task.
Totally. And for people like you and I who are uncontained and you can't hold us down, that's a really hard box to fit in. And I
Yeah.
remember being in school and I was never good at school. Like I always thought I was really dumb because I used to get like C pluses, and my dad, I remember, I'll never forget, he said something to me. We were driving in the car and I was looking at my report card. I was probably like, I don't know, grade 4, 5, something, and it was like C plus. I got like a B in like PE or something. And I was really like down to myself. I'm like, man, Dad, like I don't know. I just like I'm not into this thing. He said, don't worry about it. He said the A students will end up working for the C students. I was like, that's some good information. Okay, here we are, 25 years later, whatever that. Like, that's right. My leadership team is real smart. But it's interesting because I know my intelligence isn't in math or science or even memory. And I remember in history class, we'd have to remember the dates of all the things that I'm just like, I don't care. I want to feel, I want to perceive, I want to be
Mhm.
connected to other worlds. I want to relish in human connection, and I want to know my soul, and all of these different things. And it's beautiful because I get to do that now, and I get to do that with my students now, which is incredible.
I love this. I don't think I've told you this because I tell this story not necessarily in the containers that we're in, but
Mhm.
I had experienced breath work before I met you. And I was even teaching it in my classes, like, just
Yeah.
box breath and different things like that as a way to mitigate behavior problems. And I'd
Mhm.
even done some breath work sessions, but I thought of it as just relaxation and a
Mm.
way to sort of come back into my own rational mind. And then I met you. And my first breathwork experience was when you popped into a mastermind of a different container. And at that time, my dog Hutch was dying. And I
Mhm.
knew he was dying and I had tremendous grief around it. And I did not connect that breathwork would have anything to do with grief. And in that breathwork session, which probably lasted 20 or 30 minutes, it wasn't very long, I went through mountains and mountains of grief and came out the other side and felt healed. And I was still looking at my dog, who was still just as sick as he was when the breathwork session had begun. And yet, the integration that I felt and the capacity to be
Mm.
present in
Mm.
that moment was something I had never
Mm.
experienced.
Mhm.
And it was so powerful.
So good. So good. There's breath work for relaxation, and most people think of it as that, like take a few deep breaths and relax. But then there's this whole other world, which is breath work for transformation, which is about turning the density into divinity and
Mhm.
allowing ourselves to truly be the drug.
Yes.
Drug. It's like we teach you guys in the breathwork facilitator program that for every point of suffering that exists in the somatic body, there is also the antidote, there is the remedy, there is the medicine. Like we truly have an internal pharmacy in our body that is, we're able to heal ourselves and heal the world. And I truly feel like it is the most exciting thing for humanity. You know, it's like I question sometimes. I'm like, how like I am so excited about breath work and I talk about it all the time. I'm like, how do people run a business if they're not obsessed with what they do, you know?
Right? I have
Like
the same question.
I feel so grateful, you know, like gosh, I love it.
Me too. And I feel like there's a before breath work part of my business and my healing, and then an after breath work. And even my clients on their feedback forms, they all say, this breath work is amazing. I had no idea.
It's so true. It truly is amazing. And I think what I love so much about it is there's such a low barrier to entry.
Mhm.
And it is truly for everybody. If you've got a set of lungs, you got this. You know, I remember teaching breathwork at a maximum security prison up in Northern California. This was years ago now. And I remember sitting in a circle with all of the inmates and myself. And I just remember them looking at me like, what's this chick from Southern California going to teach me? And we started doing the breath, and within a few moments, literally moments, this entire group of men were bawling their eyes out.
Mhm.
And it was this moment that I had within myself like, wow, what we're doing with breathwork, what we're doing with pause is so powerful. We can literally take it anywhere to any human and they will have a breakthrough. They will have awareness. There's nothing to believe in. You know, this is the thing, like, you don't have to believe in God, universe, energy, manifestation, intuition, none of this stuff for this to have a true impact on you. And I think that's so powerful. It's like, just sit down and breathe and let me walk you through this pause experience. And after, let's talk. And there's something so beautiful about that. At the end of the breathwork ceremony with these men at the prison, this guy came up to me and he looked at me in the eyes and he said, that was the first time I've ever felt my heart. And I
Mm.
said, really? And he looks at me and goes, yeah. He says, if I knew I could do that, there's no way I'd be here right
Mm.
now. And I was like, I'm getting chills even retelling that story. I do every time. Because that's the vibe. You know, if we can bring people back into their hearts and we can help them realize their infinite potential and their infinite capacity to love, we can change the world. And it's sometimes overlooked because it is so simple in theory. Oh, it's just breath. Yeah. But our creator gave us this breath so that we could regulate our nervous system and we could heal it and we can awaken and we can remember who we are. We've just forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my
Mm,
gosh. It's
mm,
so amazing. And it creates a dovetail into something that you said earlier, which is your vision of imagining the globe and all
mm,
these lights and each light representing a breathwork facilitator. And in the quote traditional business model, there would be a fear of competition. But
mm,
that is not present in pause breathwork. It's not present in any capacity, whether it's through you and the team or from facilitator to facilitator. There's always this belief that there's abundance, that there's breath for everyone. And I
mm.
know that that's how you created it. And I wonder, can you share a little bit about what kinds of things are in place for there to be such a beautiful sharing and abundance?
Well, first of all, thank you. That feels really beautiful to receive because that is one of my core intentions at Pause is unlimited abundance and just a real collaborative nature to how we do things. When I feel into where that comes from, there's this knowing that every single being, every single person has their unique soul frequency that is the perfect medicine for somebody. It's,
Mhm.
I'm not going to reach everybody. Some people are going to be like, she's way too much. She says F words. She talks about, blah, blah, blah. And people are not going to receive my transmission because there's something in their awareness that will block it. And that, I know that,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
I'm an acquired taste. I'm not for everyone.
Same, same.
I'm an acquired taste. So, but then there's going to be people that your energy reaches that mine simply couldn't. And so when I ask myself, why am I doing this? It's not for me to be stand on top of a mountaintop and be rich as hell and hope. It's not that at all, you know. It is for the betterment of humanity. It is to wake the world up through the power of breathwork. It is to cultivate a community where everyone feels like their gifts matter and everyone feels excited to experience and unlock their gifts. And there's billions of people in the world, and I can only reach 0.0000001% of them, right? And so it really truly takes an army. And I think what we're building here at Pause is just so profound because everyone is doing it in their own way. You know, the way that you're running your business is completely different than the way like even the, you know, the women of the life mastermind, right? Everyone's so different and they're doing it in such a different way. And it's not competition, it's collaboration at the deepest level. And the other thing is we just get to be so in integrity with what lights us up and doing it in the way that makes the most sense for us. And I know what my unique abilities are, and I know where I thrive, and I know the places in which feel energy rich. And then I'm very clear of the places in which that do not feel energy rich, but that's someone else's energy richness. So my whole philosophy is we live in a gigantic world, and there is unlimited abundance for every single person. And this industry is so new and so fresh and so exciting, and it's just amazing. And so yeah, I just know that if I continually amplify the energetics of abundance, we can just create more together. And I also know that any threads of scarcity in my nervous system just have such a negative impact on the entire organization and the mission and everyone involved in it. And so that's one of the biggest things I say to my team members is my job is not sitting in front of the computer crunching numbers. My job is sitting in that chair back there and working out the energetics so that what comes into Pause is just pure and aligned and abundant. And so that's the vibe.
I personally love that vibe. I love receiving it from you, and I am learning it. I'm learning to lean on the places where I'm energy rich and to let go of the places where I'm not. And I'm seeing huge changes on the physical level as far as what's coming into my reality, but then also in how I feel when
Mm.
I lean on my gifts and let go of the things that maybe I'm not as good at or I don't feel as good about.
And look
Um,
what's happening. You're having huge wins in your business. It's so fun to celebrate you in the life mastermind, you know, and that's the vibe. It's our job is how can we feel the best? Like joy is our job.
mhm,
Joy
mhm,
is our job. And when we make decisions that trend us in the direction of joy, joy is the ultimate amplifier, right? Money responds to joy, opportunities respond to joy, clients respond to joy, ease responds to joy. Like it's so important. And so play is productive. If I'm sitting behind my computer and I'm just stressed out and that's not gonna that's gonna be a deficit. It's gonna have an impact on so many people. So in those moments, it's like joy is my job. Jump on your bike, go for a bike ride. Jump in the water, go for a surf. Go meditate, go do breath work, go garden. I'm so into gardening right now, as you know. I like just go do something that makes you feel alive and brings you back into your center because people receive your transmission at the energetic birthplace it was created in. And so if I'm on Instagram like creating content and it's like people are gonna feel that and they're like, I want nothing to do with that. You know, the people that make their way into my world, they're like, I don't know what it was. It was just a vibe. There was something there. And I'm like, well, that vibe is so intentional every single day. And when we can cultivate businesses that are so energetically rich and energetically sensitive to that, game over.
mhm. Absolutely. When we were in our one-on-one, I was still living in the apartment, which I've talked a lot about on this podcast. And I was sitting there and I'm like, I don't really like it. And you said something to the effect of, the environment really matters. And you told a story about moving where you were living. And I took it to heart and I was thinking, you know, the worst thing that could happen is it's not a fit. And I go, do trusted house sitter for a while.
Totally.
And I just kept telling myself that, if all else failed, I'll go do trusted house sitter for a while, but I'm gonna move. So I moved, and my rent is more than 3 times what I was paying for my
Woo!
mortgage.
Let's go.
And I was like, let's do this. Let's really like throw all the paint at the wall and go all in,
Yeah.
because it's either this or go home.
Mhm.
And so I did it. And within 3 weeks of living, I still haven't unpacked everything. And within 3 weeks, I tripled my highest month ever.
Dude. That's it though. Like that is it. And oh my God, I love you so much for just like having the courage to do that. That's the way abundance works. That's it. It's like when we go all in and we
Mhm.
just fully trust and we don't hold anything back, we are so hooked up, but we have to be 100% all in, which I know you are. Because if there was any streams of worry or any streams of scarcity or any streams of what if this doesn't work out, the energy is going to trend in that direction. And then you would have been like, oh God, that's exactly what happened when we moved into this house. This house, so funny, 3 must be a magical number. It was 3 times more expensive than we were paying at our other place. And I said to Eric, he goes, babe, you sure about this? I'm like, watch me. It's gonna be great. We moved in and we moved in January 2021, and that quarter was like our biggest quarter at Pause. I was like, babe, it like environment is so important. Like it matters so much. And even just like the little nuances of space, I look around my world and I'm like, what feels stagnant? What feels old? What feels like I just track the energy of my space, my clothes, like what feels like it's gotta go. My car, it's like everything matters so much when it comes to energetics, and I want to optimize my abundant resting position as much as possible. And so if I can organize my environment on a physical level to help optimize for that, you better believe I'm going to. And so even when I was working at the keg in Vancouver, making $24,000 a year as a waitress, and I just knew I was made for more. I knew I was made for greatness. I could feel it. I'm like, this is not my story. I'm not going to go work at like State Farm Insurance or whatever, I I always use that example. They're going to call me one day. And it's either going to be like they're going to say one of two things. Either like, thanks for promoting us, or like, stop using our name. But anyways, insert your corporate job with State Farm Insurance. But I knew that wasn't the path. And I remember when I was making $24,000 a year, I was living in my 500 square foot apartment. And I'm like, you know what? I need to get into environments that feel rich. So I would go test drive cars that I couldn't afford. I would go view homes. I would go to the nice Whole Foods grocery store, and not Superstore. For those of you who live in Canada, you know what I'm talking about. And the environment mattered so much. Even now, when I want to have like a little tweak of my energy, one of my friends lives down the road, $15 million house. I'm like, I'm going to their house. I'm going to feel into the vibration, because that stuff matters so much.
100%.
Mhm.
Yeah. So even the proximity to other homes or other cars or grocery stores, it just all matters. Whatever you're taking in with your eyes or your ears, or what smells, it makes a difference.
Mm. It really does. And this is where we get to make those tiny little tweaks. And, the more work we do, spiritual work and energy work, the more breath work we do, the more sensitive we become, right? We
Mhm.
become more aware. We become more energetically attuned. We become more sensitive. So that stuff matters even more
Mhm.
than
Yeah,
that.
I'm finding that to be true, as in a lot of capacities. Things that I'm going to put my air quotes up, tolerate,
Yeah.
they are out of the question at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, our tolerance for tolerating is goes down. Yeah, it's like, whoa, that feels like a real rub. That feels like sandpaper. I can't do that. And so it's beautiful, because then we get to create these lives that feel less and less frictionless, and there's less and less resistance. And so when we have less and less resistance in our world, things flow. It's jet fuel. The universe is like, oh, they're not getting snagged on all these little things. There's just true flow. And when we have flow of energy, we have flow of abundance, we have flow of opportunity and creativity and all sorts of things. So it's even I do something called a life audit, where I look at my life in all of my different categories, right? My wealth, my health, my relationships, my business, my home, my family, like everyone. And I track the energy of those areas of my life. And I go, okay, what feels like a contraction, what feels like a rub, and how can I shift that? And sometimes that's like with relationships, sometimes that's just having a courageous conversation and setting some really powerful boundaries, like, hey, I love you, and my intention for having this conversation is actually to create more depth and more intimacy with you, but here's what's coming up for me. When you show up like this, or when you say this, and I know you probably don't mean it, but this is the impact it has on me, and it doesn't feel good. So my invitation for us to go deeper is that, and then you just make your request, and having those courageous conversations and removing those rubs just creates so much flow in other areas of our lives. The way you treat the barista at Starbucks has a direct impact on your business. Direct impact on your business. Energy really does not have any walls, and so wherever you go, there you are, and energy is everywhere. So if you are showing up like a poop head to the barista at Starbucks, your clients, your potential clients, are gonna feel your poop headness, and they're gonna be like, no, I don't trust this person for whatever reason. The vibe wasn't there. And so energy truly does matter, and it's really about us taking full emotional responsibility for how we're showing up in all areas of our life. And that path is not for everyone,
Right.
that path
Right.
is not for everybody. Some people are just committed to the suck, committed to the struggle. And I remember years ago, I was chatting with my mentor, and, I just said, like, man, I just want everyone to get this, because once they get this, they'll be liberated and they'll create freedom. And then we can all live in this harmonious, beautiful world. And he just said to me, the path of awakening is not for everyone. And I was like, dang, you're right. Some souls came here to this planet to stay asleep, and that's their path. And there's divinity in that, and that doesn't need to be disrupted. But then there's those souls like yourself and myself and everyone at Pause Breathwork, who their soul came here as a searcher, as a leader, as a light worker, as someone who has intelligence in order to create the new world. And we all get to do that together.
Yes, I love everything that you just said. And a couple things that really stuck out. That's not right.
Look
Stood
out.
out.
I
One of those.
pick up words all the time. Just go with it.
Okay, it stuck out to me is that you know, if you have the courageous conversation and the relationship doesn't shift, there's an opportunity to either accept it and then stay in the suck, or
Yeah.
to just gently vibrate a different way.
Yeah, totally.
It's always a choice. And I hear some people say, just not necessarily my clients, but in circles that I'm in and volunteer work and different things, people will say, well, it's because of this person in my life. And there's a blaming
Mm.
energy around that. And I just love that you highlighted the importance of personal responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Two things there. I've coined this term called birthday friends, which are, I'm gonna call you on your birthday, but we're not gonna be super tight anymore. I'm not gonna cut you out of my life. I love you. You're amazing. And our journeys are no longer aligned. You're my birthday friend. They don't know that they're my birthday friend, but I know that they're my birthday friend. Right. So, it's about like restructuring relationships. And then there's relationships in my life where I want to go deeper because it's someone who I love dearly. There's one of my besties, Jenna Kennedy. She lives in Austin. It's like we were chatting on Voxer the other day, and I was like, dude, I love you. Like our relationship is so life-giving, and I'm committed to doing whatever it takes in order to deepen it and create more connection and more coherence and more love, because I can feel that there's this like reciprocal dynamic where we are both being so deeply nourished on such a deep level, and I want to go deeper with you, right? So it's like we can call in depth, or we can go the opposite way. But at the end of the day, you are your highest authority, and you get to decide how all relationships occur in your life, whether it's family or whoever. It's like no one gets a seat at the table unless you want them there. and sometimes that's hard for people because like, it's my mom. It's like, yeah, well, your mom sucks. And so like have some distance, right?
Maybe be a little less available.
Yeah, exactly. And just set boundaries with it. It's like, hey, mom, there's some things that you do in my life, and it feels really intense, and it has this impact on me. And so I'm deciding to take a little bit of spaciousness, not lose the connection, but take a little bit of spaciousness. And it's like as long as we communicate, that's my whole philosophy on like restructuring relationships is just over communicating intention and taking responsibility where we can. But the second part of that share was the blame, right? It's like this is such a big topic, personal responsibility, emotional responsibility. The moment we blame anything outside of us, we are missing the point. We're missing the point.
Absolutely.
Because people come into our world, things happen, and all that is content pointing to where we need to come home. And so if that content points and we get triggered and then we hot potato, it's your fault, it's their fault, it's his fault. We're truly missing the point. And this is the difference between leaders and everybody else. Leaders do not blame. They do not project. They do not do anything other than acknowledge that there is content for our evolution and we get to feel into it and we get to grow through it and we get to make it better. And the human mind will blame anything to not evolve. Anything. I actually just had a chat with my somatic coaching certification students today about this. This one girl was sharing how she got herself into this place of like blaming and blaming the mentors or the program. She's like, and all that was my codependency, thinking that something outside of me was going to save me.
Codependency and an upper limit.
Yes. It's the self-sabotage,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, things are getting good, let me make it really bad again. And so it's just fascinating. And when we can have spaciousness from the ways in which we do this, because we all do it, we're all human. It's not wrong. But when we get trapped in the consciousness and we think that that's real, that's when it gets really bad. And so we have to really look at it and go, oh no, it's not the program. It's not my mentor. It's not this person. It's not society. It's not anything other than this content is pointing to places within me that I get to evolve into. That's it. That's funny we're talking about this because this was a little bit of like the vibe for our mastermind call tomorrow with the Life Mastermind.
Oh, no kidding. This is so cool. This has been the topic of conversation in my container, Yes Academy. Also, so it must be in the field right now.
I think so. There's a vibe there of like full responsibility, full ownership. When you remove blame, you find your personal power. When you remove projection, when you remove all of that, there's such richness and depth underneath all of that. And that's what I truly want for everyone, and we can create such a bubble wrapped world if we allow ourselves, don't say this to me and don't call me this and don't do this and I don't want to do this and all of this stuff where it's like, how about we don't do that and we just meet life with our courageous full selves and we use the content for our evolution and growth and we move through it.
I have gotten into the habit of when something goes awry, the first thing I do is get curious. Like, what's happening here? What's this about? And what's my role in it?
Yes.
And there's
my call this morning. That's exactly what we talked about.
Oh, no, I wasn't on your call this morning, but again, I think it's in the field. So I had an upper limit experience shortly after I moved in with the desk chair that I'm sitting in. And it was almost too nice. And it's so weird that a desk chair was the thing that
I love it. That's so good.
But it was like I created this whole sabotage around upending my desk and dumping the computer into the chair. I mean, it was a massive moment of sabotage. And I was like, what is happening right now? And it was an upper limit.
Yes. How nice is that chair though? Is it pretty rad?
It's nice.
Oh,
It's
it's pretty nice. It's a
it's
pretty
pretty
nice
nice.
chair. Yeah, and you know what? Something that I love saying when something arises is, that's interesting. Whether it's a contraction and something that sucks, or whether it's something that's amazing. Oh, that's so interesting.
Mhm.
So interesting. And when we bring in that lens of curiosity and intrigue and interest, what we're doing in that moment is we're creating spaciousness from it. The thing where humans get caught and lost is something arises and our consciousness sinks into it and we get wrapped in it. And then we're viewing life from the lens and the energetic level of that consciousness, and then everything looks crazy. This is messed up and this is messed up and you're messed up and this is messed up and I'm messed up. It's just like we get so messy. But when it arises or the thing happens, and I had the weirdest thing happen this morning. So I recently let someone go in my company, and they had access to all of my personal information and all of my credit cards and things like this. And this morning I wake up to a text message from Chase Bank saying that my credit card was used at Tokyo Disneyland. And I go,
Ooh.
That's interesting. And I look on Instagram, and this particular person who had access to my credit card was at Tokyo Disneyland.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's interesting. Right. So it's like, and it was this moment for me to reflect and go, where was I at energetically to once upon a time welcome that energy into my world? Like, what was that? Where was I? What was going? And I had this moment of reflection of remembering when this being was hired, and I was just not paying attention. I was not paying attention to energy. I was distracted over here doing something. And it was this moment where I misfired my intuition and attunement.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's beautiful to have those moments of like, okay, well, Chase is awesome and they let me know. So she didn't, use the credit card. It's canceled now. But it's just interesting, right? And so every day, every moment, hundreds of opportunities that are interesting come into our world, and we get to have that moment of, what can I learn from this? How is this a blessing? How is this happening for me in perfect timing? What's the vibe? And sometimes those things can be really scary, and sometimes we don't want to look at them, right? Especially if someone has, crunchiness around money. That could be a big one, right? We can
Mhm.
wrap so much of our childhood trauma in money when it's not actually about money. It's about something so much deeper. And so when things like that arise, how can we not make it about the money or make it about the thing, but look underneath the hood? What is the energetic undercurrent occurring? And how can we pay attention to that, heal that, unearth that, so that money doesn't become the source of all evil, or like all of these things that we project onto it. And I'm using money as an example because a lot of people are familiar with this one. But it's just so interesting how our human mind, if it goes unmonitored, can make huge dramas about things that can be healed in a couple of minutes.
Literally a couple of
Literally
minutes.
a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Wow. That was a big one.
That was a big one. Yeah, we went there. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. That was good. That was so good. So much packed into that. All about the childhood and abundance and our energetic configuration, and so
Yeah.
rich.
Yeah.
Listeners, go back and listen to that again.
Rewind, take
Yes.
notes. And like that's lifelong lessons, it's like that's the stuff that we just get to continually learn, because money's a cool one because there's like direct feedback. It's like your financial situation right now is not what you're doing right now, it's what you historically did. And so sometimes what happens is, like, if our money takes a dip, our energy takes a dip, and then we just keep creating more of what we don't want. And so one of the most beautiful things that we can create as with humans, or in our human psyche, is faith without evidence. How can I hold the vision of what I'm calling in and what I'm creating without any evidence, or when my financial situation looks opposite of what I desire it to be? And this is so deeply tied to worthiness, and so deeply tied to like survival and like that primal part of us. And so it's truly about feeling it to the depth and not letting those energies take us over, because when they do, we just get so lost in it, and then again we're creating more of what we don't want. And so there's a level of self-trust that gets to come in here. There's a level of trusting the universe that gets to come in here. There's realizing that we're not doing this whole thing on our own. We have helpers, we have God, we have the universe, we have all sorts of things. And energy is the most important thing above everything else.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I feel that way too.
Mm-hmm.
It's all energy when it comes down to it.
So true.
Mm.
Yeah.
Before I ask you some just for fun questions, I'd
Oh, I
love
love
for
this
you to
one.
share how people can reach
Mhm.
you and some things that they might be interested in tuning into.
Yeah. So, my Instagram at Samantha Skelly is where a lot of it all goes down. Pausebreathwork.com. If you desire to become a facilitator, if you desire to become a somatic coach, if you desire to apply for the Life Mastermind, which Brenda's in.
Yeah.
And then my podcast is being released shortly. I haven't yet announced the name, so I'll wait on that. But if you follow me on Instagram and get onto our email list, you will be in the know shortly.
Cannot wait for that. And I get to see you in person like
Oh my
in
God.
less than a week.
I literally can't wait. I'm dying. I can't wait.
Me too. Pause level 2. Level 2.
Ooh. Oh yeah, we are going to go there. We're going to go to places we've never been at Pause before. It's like a whole new, it's a true advanced training. Like get ready to be a wizard after this.
I can't wait. My wand is ready.
Wanda's ready.
Oh
Oh,
my goodness. Thank you for this conversation. It's so deep and rich with all kinds of goodness. So thank you.
of course, it's my
If
pleasure.
there was one thing that you either did or didn't do to get
Mm.
you to your yes filled life, what do you think that would be?
Mm. 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 True spaciousness in my days. When my days are spacious, I get to be creative, I get to follow the flow of energy, I get to have time to do joyful things, and it's like so close. There's times where I still feel like, oh, this is too full, this is a no day, but a day like today feels like such a yes day. So yeah, it's like just being committed to spaciousness in my day.
I really love that. I am committed to that as well. I have big buffers on both sides of all my appointments.
So important, so important.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
So, just for fun, what's in your morning mug?
Ooh, so it's interesting you ask. Right now, it's coffee with a little bit of cream, but I'm gonna every so often I go on 30-day like caffeine kick the caffeine challenges, and so I'm like ramping up to do another one of those.
That would be a good idea for me too.
Yeah, even though like there's a part of me that's like, no. I never like the feeling of being dependent on anything. And over the last couple weeks, just with my travel schedule and things that have been going on, I'm like, oh, I'm having a little bit too much coffee. And it's feeling like a little bit of a dependency. So whenever I feel that, whether it's Instagram, coffee, too much work, I always like really pull back from it so that I don't create that any sort of like funky energies around it.
I really love that. I love that. Who inspires you?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, so many people. Who? One person? I get one person. Okay.
You can make this up. This is your question. You can answer it any way you want.
Mm, mm. Shay Mitchell inspires me. I just love how she's just very much herself. I love the different brands she creates, the different things she does, how she integrates motherhood with business, and she's just rad. She inspires me. Um, since I was 12 years old, I've been inspired by Tony Robbins, and he continues to inspire me. I sometimes check in, I'm like, do I still feel inspired by him? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So he, Eric and I call him Uncle Tony, as you know. I'm like, Uncle Tony is still inspiring me. I just have such a beautiful memory of driving from Vancouver to Winnipeg in my dad's Ford Aerostar van, and just Tony Robbins was just, doing his Tony Robbins thing. And at the time, it was like little tapes, and I was just like, wow, this guy's inspiring. And he is the reason for a lot of my ability to just like say yes to life, and just
Mm,
go do the thing. So he's been a big inspiration for me for sure.
that's spectacular. I really respect him. And he's come into my awareness 3 or 4 times in the last 6 weeks. So
Oh,
there's
interesting.
something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Is there a podcast you listen to that you love that you could recommend?
Yours.
Thank you.
Everyone keep listening. I mean, I love Almost 30 mostly because I just love Krista and Lindsay. They're two of my friends, and it's just such high quality content, beautifully done. They're just rad humans like through and through. I would say the Almost 30 podcast. I love that one.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is there a song that every time you hear it, you're like, yes, I can do anything?
It just takes some time, little girl, in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Jimmy Eat World, the middle. It's like my go-to. Like whenever I'm like, you can't do this. Whenever my like parts of my inner child's like, I'm scared. You can't do this. It's all falling apart. I just put that song on and I like rock out. I'm like, everything's great.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm going to put that
Yeah.
on my playlist. My go-to is Lizzo's About Damn Time.
Oh my God, I remember that from the retreat. I remember you said that. It's
Yeah.
about that. Whatever she says.
So good. And my last question is, if you ever find yourself in a funk, feeling scared or frustrated or sad, what do you do to flip the switch and access joy?
Mm, mm, Well, I let myself fully feel the energy and I let myself fully not get lost in it and collapse into it, but just like really let the energy move through. We do something at Pause called Feelers, which is where we reach out and like have someone support us in that. And so I'll do those. Um, I mean, is it cheesy if I say breath work? That's just the truth. Breath work,
It's not
just like,
cheesy.
yeah, it's like feeling like not using breath work as escapism, like allowing myself to fully feel it and then using my breath to like unhook myself from whatever I'm stuck in and just remember my divinity. It's like there's nothing quicker than remembering our divinity through the power of our breath work or power.
Mm, I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
I call it using breath work to get to the other side.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're one breath away.
Yeah, for sure. Sam, thank you. Thank you for being here today.
This was so great. I just love you. And this is just I'm just so proud of everything that you're becoming and who you are, and just it's just an honor to be in your energy, and it's an honor to see you continuously expand and hold humans in your power, and I just believe in you big time. It's
Thank you,
amazing.
Sam. I love you.
Mm. Mm.
Isn't Sam incredible? I'm sure that you can see why I continue to work inside Sam's containers. I love Pause Breathwork. I love the Life Mastermind, and am just so grateful for this conversation that we got to have. Here are the takeaways. Number one, intuition comes through in a variety of ways. It might be a deep intuitive knowing, something you hear, something that you see, or even feel or sense in your body. Number two, personal and emotional responsibility are essential components for success. Blaming external factors or other people can hinder your growth. Instead, there's an invitation to view challenges and triggers as opportunities for evolution and improvement. It's a mindset shift that can truly transform your life. Number three, Sam believes, and I concur, that every person has a unique soul frequency that can be the perfect medicine for someone else. Keep your focus on reaching the people who resonate with your message and creating a community where everyone's gifts are valued. And number four, the significance of your environment cannot be overstated. It absolutely affects your energy. As you do more spiritual and energy work, you become more sensitive and aware, making your surroundings even more crucial. I'm putting all of Sam's links in the show notes, in addition to a link to try the free 4-part breathwork series, Breathwork to Strengthen and Trust Your Intuition, and also get instant access to that PDF guide. I'm also putting in the Pause Breathwork app coupon for 30-day free trial, in addition to information about becoming a breathwork facilitator. And lastly, I want to be sure to invite you into a free masterclass and breathwork session on August 8th. August 8th is such an auspicious and abundant day. It's known as the Lion's Gate portal. And if you study numerology or angel numbers, you will know that the numbers 8 or 88 are very abundant. They deal with success and abundance and affluence. And it seemed like the perfect day to offer a breathwork session and a masterclass. So join me for a free masterclass and breathwork session called Awaken Your Abundant Potential, Unlocking the Path to Prosperity. That's on Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Pacific. You can save your spot by going to brendawinkle.com/abundance. Thank you so much for listening to Your Yes Filled Life. If you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, I invite you to do that now. And if you loved this episode, would you please share it with a friend? Thanks so much for being here today. Bye for now. Until next time.